All right, let's go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today's webinar on prospecting with RPR with Katie Gleboff. Before we begin, I want to let you know that Allison James Estates and Homes is a nationwide brokerage which offers 100% commission, 100% support, and zero franchise fees. Why split your commission if you don't need to? You earned it all, so shouldn't you keep it all? Our goal at Allison James is to always give back to our agents by providing education, training sessions, live webinars, live events, and full broker support with the most up-to-date tools and technology available. We're always looking for new tools and ways to be able to provide them to our agents at a lower or discounted price so you can keep all of your hard-earned money. Today's webinar is sponsored by our preferred lender, Movement Mortgage. And if you do want more information on Allison James Estates and Homes, please visit us at agicareers.com. So let's go ahead and get started with today's topic. If you do have any questions throughout today's presentation, please submit your questions to the chat box on your Zoom control panel. But with that being said, I'm now going to go ahead and pass it over to our speaker today, Katie. Good morning, Katie.
Good morning, Carly. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. Well, welcome everyone. I'm just going to turn my camera on for a brief intro, and then I'll go ahead and turn it off as we start the demo of our presentation today. As I kind of chat, I'm just going to get my screen set up for you guys. I want to thank you for joining us for today's RPR presentation. And I did see a note that Carly's recording this, so you guys will all get a copy of it at the conclusion of the presentation today. That'll probably be distributed by your office. And if you have any questions during the presentation, I can't hear you, but I will be paying attention to the chat. So go ahead and type your comments or your questions into that chat, and I'll be going ahead and monitoring those and answering those questions as we go through the presentation today. We're going to start with a really quick PowerPoint, and then we're going to get into the live demo of our portion of our presentation. So welcome to Keep That Pipeline Pumping, Prospect with RPR. So what we're going to cover today is just some user scenarios on how you can target potential sellers in a demographic area, how you can target potential buyers in a demographic area, how you can use mailing labels to prospect to those clients. And then I'm going to share with you some reports that you can use. I want to share the market area activity report. And then I also want to be able to share the neighborhood report with you as well. There's a couple of nice little features that I like to look at when I'm potentially prospecting in that neighborhood report. So I'll share that with you as well. So let's take a minute and talk about home sellers and their selling experience. This is just a little snapshot. Now, every year, the National Associations of Realtors does a home buyers and sellers study. I actually think they just published the one like 2 days ago for, oh, maybe not, maybe that was a different report. But what we're looking at here is the report that they published for the profile of buyers and sellers back in 2020 for the year. And this is just going to go through and talk about all sellers across the board. What are the top reasons for sellers wanting to move? They want to move closer to friends and family. Their home is too small. They have a change in familial situation, or they're moving for a job relocation. For those first-time sellers, they're upgrading their home size. So they're moving because their home is too small. And then we're going to see another trend in a couple of slides that I want you to pay attention to as well. And then for repeat sellers, they want to move closer to friends and family. Here is the tenure of homeowners. So again, we're looking at the profile of homeowners, and those that are between the age of 18 to 34 years old, they own their home for about 4 to 5 years, and then they're selling their home either to be closer to family, friends, or because their home isn't large enough. And then for those that are 65 to 74 years of age, they've owned their home for 21 years or more. So that's that 38% that have had that home ownership for that long period of time. I think this is my favorite slide though, and this shows the period, the median seller tenure, going all the way back to 1985 to now. So back in 1985, and then really looking from 85 to 95. And then we had a little spike, but really from 1985 until almost 2008, the average homeowner period, or the median homeowner period, was about 6 years. So every 6 years you would have a house turnover. And then we started year after year, 2008, 2009, 2010, it would go up a year. And now really since going back to 2013, right about that time, we've seen that people are staying in their home longer. So they're moving after they've owned the property for 9 to 10 years. So it's almost doubled in time over the last 20 years in home ownership, right? So that's kind of a really cool slide to take a look at. Another thing that we want to take a look at when we look at all sellers, whether they're urgently trying to sell somewhat or not, 89% of all sellers still sold their home using an agent or a broker, right? So that's a pretty good percentage. So only about 11% of the market are actually sold through for sale by owners. A percentage of them try to use a for sale by owner first, and then they turn to an agent, 8% FSBO. And then you have 1% that sold it through a home buying company or in other programs. So we're still seeing that large margin of people using a realtor to sell their home. So the idea of prospecting, whether you're using a social media campaign, whether you're using the postcards, and I know my screen is kind of a shady background, but I live in the Tampa Bay area of Florida. So I'm way on the other side of the country, but give me a shout out if any of you guys are familiar with Florida at all. I've been out to California a couple times, but not much. But this is, of course, I mean, I know it's foggy looking or shaded looking, but this is like the just sold home flyer that goes out, right? And these are great ways that you can use that prospecting tool just to keep your name and your face in front of them. And this is just a general one in my market for homes that have sold, within a half mile of my house or whatever it may be. Oh, so I do have someone that's in the Orlando area. So welcome. I'm over on the Gulf Coast, straight across the Gulf Coast from you in the Clearwater area. So I got someone from Florida on here. I know a lot of you guys are in California. Sorry. And then I have someone in Jacksonville too. I love Jacksonville. Jocelyn, we go to Amelia Island once a summer. We love it up there. It's a beautiful place for an Indiana Beach. And then I have Mark from St. Pete. So you're just south of me. So, well, maybe I'll change my demo area to Florida. I usually use Carlsbad for you guys with Alice and James, but I have a lot of you guys from Florida too. So now that we've talked about sellers and their experience, let's go ahead and take a look at buyers and their experience. So when it comes to first-time home buyers, really the largest portion, they rented an apartment or a house, and now they're looking to purchase a home. So I want you to think of that statistic for farming for potential buyers. The highest percentage of buyers were renting an apartment or a house before they purchased home. And then, of course, a portion of them were living with family, friends, and relatives, and they either paid rent or they didn't pay rent. Repeat buyers, the largest portion, owned their previous home at 72%. And then 21% of those repeat buyers rented an apartment or a house. And this is the primary reason for first-time and repeat buyers to purchase a home, was that they just liked the desire of owning a home rather than renting a apartment or a home. So they wanted to be able to have that home ownership. And then for repeat buyers, our largest index came in for the desire for a larger home, closer to friends and family, followed up by a change in a familial situation. Now, here is the primary reason to purchase homes. So for all buyers, whether they're a first time or a repeat buyer, 51% it was the right time to purchase a home. And then 15% really didn't have much of a choice. They had to purchase a property. And that's either because that familial status, that job change. And then, of course, smaller than that, it was because of the available inventory of homes that were available for sale. So I'm going to go ahead, and as we get into the demo, I'm going to stop my video, and that just allows your Zoom control panel or your Zoom screen to take over the large screen. So I'm going to go ahead and change, and we're going to jump into RPR, and we're going to take a look at RPR using some of these scenarios. Now, for our demo today, I am going to use the area of Carlsbad, California, but you can use any market area. If you're in Orlando or Jacksonville or St. Pete, you're going to follow these steps to perform the same function. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to come into our research tab, and I'm just going to click on the map search. And that's going to go ahead and bring me to our search page, where I have my filter search here at the top, right, that I can expand and collapse. And then I have my map to the bottom. So I'm going to come in, and in our location, I'm going to go ahead and type in our city and our state, and I'm going to go ahead and narrow it down by a zip code. It just kind of helps identify the area that we're looking in. Now I'm going to come in, and if the when you go ahead and enter your location, if you hit your enter key or your tab key or this search key, what's going to happen is you're just going to get a little dialog box that pops up that says, hey, you know, you don't have any criteria in, so there's too many properties that we could take a look at right now. Just hit close on that. We're not really concerned with what's populating on the map yet. We just want to come in. We're going to identify our location, and then we're going to go to our type or status. And whenever we're prospecting, whether we're prospecting for potential buyers or we're prospecting for potential sellers, we want to go ahead and make sure that we're prospecting for public record data. So we're either getting that tax billing address or that mailing address for that location. Then you're going to have your property type. And I am not all that familiar, again, with California, but for those of you that are in the presentation that are in St. Petersburg, Florida is a good example. If you're in the Orlando area and you're in the downtown market, you know, you could come in and say, hey, I want to look or I want to farm condo buildings. So you can come in and farm condos, townhouses, or apartments. You have multifamily properties, you have lot land, you have farm ranch. So you have all different property styles that you can use for a farming tool. But for today's presentation, I'm going to keep it clean and simple, and I'm going to use single family properties. So I'm going to come in, I'm looking for public record, I want to farm single family homes. The next thing that we have is our price field. So if you're farming and maybe you're looking to, maybe you're a luxury home sales agent and that's what your niche is, you can come in and say, hey, I want to farm a larger area, maybe just the city of Carlsbad, since we're in a coastal region, right? I'm off the coast, but maybe you want to farm luxury waterfront properties on the coast. You can come in and say, hey, I want my properties to have a minimum value of 3 million or more. So you can come in, and even though we're targeting public record properties, we can still target properties that are above a particular value range. So if you're doing that luxury farm area, you can target luxury homes as well. I'm going to flip into my filters, which is the icon that we have here to the far right. Remember, right now, my criteria is fairly general. I have a location by zip code. I'm looking at public record data. I have single family properties, and according to our records, we have over 1,000 public record parcels in RPR within this zip code. So if I want to target homeowners that could potentially sell their home, and we were looking at those statistics that said, well, people that are between the age of 65 to 75, they've owned their home for 10 or more years. So I can scroll down. I'm not interested in beds, baths, living area. If I want to exclude distressed properties, I can exclude distressed properties. But what I'm looking for here, so let's erase this. So we have 4,000 properties that are public record properties. But I came in and said, hey, I'm looking for owner occupied properties, and I want to target those homeowners that have owned their home for 10 or more years, right? So I'm coming in, I have my targeted area, which is a zip code. We could see that zip code on the map here. I'm looking for owner occupied, and I want to target people who've owned their homes for 10 to 15 or more years. So I'm just putting that information in, and then I can go back up to the top and update my search. Now, RPR is going to come back and say, hey, we do limit your search to the first 500, but we have 1,300 parcels that are single family homes where the homeowner has owned their home for 10 or more years. So I am going to just come in and say, hey, well, I want to close out of that. And now I want to whittle down my property matches even further. So there are a few ways that you can come into RPR and limit your market area. The first thing I want to share with you in here is show geography. So I'm going to go ahead and click down on those show geographies. This is where we can come in and display zip codes in a market area. We can also display neighborhoods. Neighborhoods is something that I want you to go in and take a look at for your own market area. Macro neighborhood is our largest neighborhood. So we can come in, and for this area, our macro neighborhood is going to be the city of Carlsbad. So that's going to be too large for farming in an area. I don't want the city, so I don't want macro neighborhood. I can come into our intermediate neighborhood, and now I'm going to get smaller components here. So let's go ahead. We can select the Tamarack Point area here. So I could come in and say, hey, I just want to search this area here. And it's going to come in and tell us for this area, we have 592 properties. So it's still too many properties to farm. Now, of course, when you're farming and you're doing some sort of marketing campaign, keep your budget in mind. Right? So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to whittle this down even further. So if I want to look at maybe smaller neighborhoods, I can check out my minor, or I can check out my micro. Usually you're going to get one or the other of these. So I'm going to jump into my micro neighborhood, and now you're going to start to see how, if I zoom in even more, right, all these little small neighborhoods start to pop up. So I can come in and select this, and I can search in that area. If I wanted to come in and just identify that area and search, I have 114 people that have owned their home for 10 or more years, and they are owner occupied homes. So of course you can get down to this smaller section as well. Now I'm going to zoom out a little bit, because you also have the ability to come in, and maybe you're looking at the show geographies, and you're coming in and looking at your micro neighborhoods or your minor neighborhoods. And maybe you want to farm this neighborhood here and this neighborhood here. And you want to grab this block up here, but it's not mapping out as a neighborhood under our geographical boundary. So you can still come in and say, well, I want Quail Ridge and I want Carlsbad Heights, but I also want Vancouver up here, and I want Chestnut and Oxford and these houses here as well, but it won't let me grab them. So I can come over here to the right-hand side of our map tools, and I can go ahead and say, hey, I want to select a draw. You can do a box, a polygon, or a radius. I like to jump to that freehand, and then I can come in and just click and drag and draw the area out on the map that I want to grab, right? So I can come in and just capture that area. And then I can go ahead and search in that area, and it's going to identify all of the properties. I have 156 parcels that have owned their home for 10 or more years. If I want to save this as a custom area, I can click into that orange, and then I have an option here that says save area. So I'm going to go ahead and save that area. And then this is just my Tamarack Point farm area. And I can come in. I think that's how it's spelled. No, maybe it's CK for Tamarack Point. Okay, so we're going to do Tamarack Point farm area, and that really just gets saved right here under our used area saved search. So if I happen to navigate away, right, I go back to my home page, I do what I want, I can come into the home page and jump right into a map search. And then for my map search, I can go to my used area, and I can come right in here and say, hey, I want to find that Tamarack Point. And then I can go ahead and search in that area, and I can come up and say, hey, I want to find active inventory. I want public record. I want my single family homes. And I want those owner occupied homes that have owned their home for 15 or more years, right? So I can go in and then I can update my search that way, right? So we're going to come in and then we can search in that area. So you do have the ability to go in and kind of play, right, with that criteria. I think we had 10 to 15. So I'll go ahead and we can update our search, and we'll get all of those property matches. From here, if I wanted to send a mailing out to all 156 properties, I'm going to change my view from my map view, and I can go either to my photo grid view, and you'll see the link here for mailing labels, or I can go to my line view, and I have a link here for mailing labels as well. But before we get to the mailing labels, you'll see the list of all of the properties here. You'll see the RVM value for the home. We can sort these by status, by price, which is in bold with an up arrow. So right now it's price from low to high. If I want to do high to low, I can just click on this header. But since I am doing mailing labels, if I wanted to sort these labels by owner name, I can just go to my sort by, and I can pick my list right here. And in my pick list, I have owner name. I can do A to Z or Z to A. It's right here under that drop down. And then I can come to my mailing labels, and it's going to go ahead and open up in a dialog box where now I can come in and say, all right, I want to generate my mailing labels. Now, if I have a third-party company that's going to go ahead and generate the mailing, or they're going to create the postcard, and all I have to do is send them the spreadsheet of addresses, I can do a CSV, comma separated value export. Since I ran my search for owner occupied homes, I can go to the physical property location or the tax billing address, right? Either one. I can generate it to owner name. I can also change it to current resident. If I want to do current resident, you can do owner name or current resident, right? So it's up to you how you want to do it. We ran our search for owner occupied homes, so we don't have to worry about changing that here. If you wanted to exclude listed properties, you can exclude listed properties as well. Otherwise, I'm just going to hit that export button. And real quick, I'm just going to minimize this screen. And then I'm going to come over here to the bottom. And it's going to take just a minute because it's going to open up my Microsoft numbers. And there is my export of my mailing labels for that farm area. And then from here, you can just come up and I can go to my mailing labels. This is my Tamarack Point farm area. And I pulled this on 052721, right? So that's my coding. And then I have this Excel spreadsheet stored on my desktop where I can just send it to my third-party provider. And they can go ahead and generate those mailing labels for me. So I do have the ability to kind of go in and take a look at that information. I'm going to go ahead and expand this. And for now, I want to go ahead and close out of this. And really with the same location here, you know, we can come in. This is our Tamarack Point farm area. We can go back to our map view. We had 156 properties, and I'm going to go back to my filters because we were targeting owner occupied homes, right? Where they've owned their property for 10 to 15 years. If you wanted to target younger sellers, you know, you can target those people who've owned their home for 5 to 10 years and you get 52. But you can come in and we can change this. So if we wanted to target potential buyers in an area, we can come in and say, hey, we want to identify all of the absentee owners in an area. So again, I can say, hey, I want to update my search. And when we're looking at parcels here, we have 72 properties that have essentially renters in the area. But again, we can zone out, we can zoom out here. And since we're really looking at a different viewpoint, again, you can come in and say, well, hey, I want to draw freehand and I want to gather this whole area here, right? Since we're looking at non-owner occupied homes, I want to grab all of these properties here. Since we have a lower number of renters, I can expand my farm area, right? So here is my pool of potential renters. So again, you're going to go to those filters and we can come in and we're going to go down and target all of those absentee owners in that area. So you can come in and identify those properties as well for absentee owners, and then you can target those absentee owners. We have a heavy rental area up here. So again, you can use those show geographies. You can use those micro neighborhoods if you want to target a potential area. You can use those minor neighborhoods if you want to target a potential area. You can search this way. You can save these as well, right? You just click on that area and then I can come in and save this area as a custom area. Of course, you can search in that area. And if we're targeting existing renters, right, we can come in and now from our list view, we can go in and say, hey, we want to generate mailing labels, but this time, oops, we're going to go ahead and go back to mailing labels. I just got a little error. So we have our 21 properties. Let me try to do that. It's not giving me the number. It's giving me 1. I don't want 1. So let's go ahead and go back to our map view. And I'm going to come into our geographical boundary. I'm going to enlarge it just a little bit. Let me go ahead and draw freehand. I'll grab this area here. Okay. I want to go back to my list view and then look. I didn't want to create a report. Sorry, guys. I'm going to hit that back button. We have our properties. I'm going to go to our mailing labels. There we go. Now I want to go to our Avery 5160. You can do 5161 or 5162. So any of those 3 formats. Now we're going to send it to the physical property location because we want the renter to get it. We're going to go ahead and drive a marketing campaign towards those that may want to buy a home. So we're targeting absentee owners and we're sending it to the property address. And this time we're going to say, hey, current resident, right? Because we know there is a renter in there. And we're going to kind of drill our search down that way. So physical property location when it's an absentee owner home. And we're going to drive this campaign towards the current resident. And then we're going to go ahead and print that. And let me go ahead and just minimize this screen. And we can open that. And then here is your current resident. So these are all non-owner occupied homes that have tenants in them. So that's how you can target potential buyers in RPR as well. Now, if you're looking at a particular area, if we go back to our map view, right? Even though this is a custom area, I can click into this map view and create this option right here that says create market area activity report. So again, if I have a saved area, I can click into that saved area and say, hey, I just want to go into this section and I want to go ahead and pull a market area activity report. So I'm clicking that link to create a market area activity report. It's going to bring me to my reports page where I can view a sample. Or I can click on this little plus sign and then I can look at my report elements. I'm going to get those nice heat maps of home values, whether it's estimated home values, 12-month change, concentration of distressed properties, sale price, list price. I want to look at activity over the last month. And I want to look at all properties that recently sold, right? And I want to pull it for single family homes. And I can just hit this little link here that says run report. And it's going to generate that market area activity report. And it's going to put it right here at the top, right? So I can come in and then I can download this to my desktop. I can post it on to Facebook. So if I have a user group where I want to target it towards a sphere of influence, I can post this onto my Facebook page or onto a page that I manage, right? But if we come in, I have one open already for this area just to save time's sake, right? We can come in and we can look at this. We get our market area and then we have our map information. So this is our market snapshot of median estimated home value, property value increase over the last 24 months. We have 12-month change in estimated value. So this is property value growth year over year, right? So this is a great one. Over the last 12 months, looking 12 months back, property value has grown 15%. If we look at going 2 years back, going back to 2019, overall property value growth over 2 years is 18%. And over 3 years, it's 19%. So that jump of property value growth occurred in the last 12 months, right? We can scroll down here. This is our concentration of distressed properties. We have our sales price indicator. We have our list price indicator here. And then we get our market activity snapshot where we can see the recently sold properties. And then we get a line item report of those recently sold properties as well. So you get this really nice market area activity report that you can use or share with Facebook. But one thing I like to do with these reports, if you like any of these reports, you can go ahead and send the graphic to a third-party provider, and they will take the graphic and use it in some sort of campaign. So you can come in and just be like, hey, I want to grab a screenshot of this graphic. So I'm going to come in and I want the Allison James logo. And I just want this. And you can come in and just grab that little screenshot of the report, and then you can incorporate that JPEG or that into your own marketing concept if you choose to. So you can just grab that screenshot of that graphic or of that inventory. But this is one that I really like, that 12-month change in estimated home value. So you can see how that property value has grown over time. So the market area activity report is a great report. Now we can go to, if we want to go back to the home page, right? You can come in and go right to our research. And under our research here, you'll see residential market activity search. So we can go in and be like, oh, well, we want to pull market area activity for Tamarack Point. You know, we could come in and just type what we want. We could come in, there's all different Tamarack points across the US. So we want the one in Carlsbad. So we could come in, and then from here, it's going to set that geographical boundary. And of course, we can click in here. We can search in this area. We can create a market area activity report, or we can create a neighborhood report as well. So you can look at the neighborhood demographics. So you can do this for a neighborhood, or if you wanted a market area activity for an entire zip code, you could come in and type in a zip code if you wanted to look at the market area activity for an entire zip code. You can do it, and then you just click in that orange area and you can create a market area activity report for the entire zip code. Of course, if you came in and you wanted to draw your custom area, you know, we can go ahead and say, well, we don't really want that zip code. We want everything kind of along here. We can come in, draw that mapped area. We can save that area, or we can create a market area activity report for that custom area as well. So you're not limited to a predefined farm area. You can use a predefined farm area from our geographies. You can type a predefined market area in by city name, by zip code, or by neighborhood name, or you can hand draw your predetermined area as well, and then create a market area activity report off of there. So before I continue, do I have any questions? If you have a question on anything that I've covered, go ahead and type that into the chat, whether it's mailing labels. I don't think we have any markets in California or Florida. Is there anyone for you guys? If you're in Texas, we have a couple of areas where you can't use the mailing labels, but I think for your guys, for the most part, there's no laws that prohibit the use of public record data for generating mailing labels. So you're not prohibited to print them out. But any other questions? Any questions whatsoever? Yeah, so I have a question out there. Can you quickly show us again how you select a micro neighborhood area? So if we have our map up here, we're in our map view, right? So as long as you're in your map view, which you can get to really from anywhere within your search results, you're just going to click this map view right here, which is on the upper right-hand side of the map. It's the try page. And then you're going to go into your show geographies. And under your show geographies, you have your neighborhood breakdown. So the macro neighborhood, that's usually the largest neighborhood breakdown, right? And then you have intermediate, which is smaller. These are a lot of the times regions, north, south, east, west, or a master plan community. And then you're going to either have the minor or the micro, which is like the name on the subdivision sign, as you go through. Okay. So let me know, Don, if you got that on how to generate those micro neighborhoods. And then of course, once the micro neighborhoods come up, you just select the ones that you want. And from there, you can search in those areas for whatever that criteria is, if you're looking for farming or if you're looking for actively listed properties. I have a question out there from Craig, who's a good source for producing postcards and mailers. You know, a lot of brokerages have a back end system where you can generate the mailing labels. You can go to your association. Usually they have affiliate members or programs that allow you to generate mailing labels, or you just Google search them. It's different all across the country. And I don't really have one that I would recommend over the other. As a trainer, I don't use a lot of postcards. I have a question out there. What happens after you run out of the 2000 records? So if you're coming into RPR and you are generating mailing labels, like we're coming in here, we're looking to run a farming search. So if we come in and say, hey, we want to create mailing labels, you get, I'm going to come right down here. Whoops. You get 2000 records a month from RPR. And at the first of the month, those just reset. Right? And at the first of the month, you get a whole new batch. If you need more than 2000 mailing labels, you do have a premium solution that you can sign up for. It does cost additional money. But you can prospect using additional filters like loan and mortgage information and demographic data. But you would pay more if you need more than 2000 mailing labels a month, right? It's not a year, it's a month. And that's quite a good amount of mailing labels. Okay. I want to go back to the home page, and while I have a couple of minutes, take your, if you have a question, go ahead and type it into the chat now. But I do have time to go over one other concept that deals with farming and prospecting. And it's something that I really like to take a look at when I'm researching potential areas, or maybe I'm looking for good areas to target in a market area. So from the home page, I'm going to go into my research tool. And from my research tool, I'm going to go ahead and target my neighborhood search. Now, from a neighborhood search standpoint, your neighborhood can be a whole city. Your neighborhood could be a specific zip code, or your neighborhood could be communities within a zip code or subdivisions within a zip code. So I'm going to come in, and in my neighborhood search, I'm going to type Carlsbad, California. I want to target a particular zip code, but I'm going to go ahead and come to the type field just to the right of that. And I'm going to come in and say, I want to look at the communities within this particular zip code. And then I'm going to go ahead and run that search. Now you can do this at a city level. You're just going to get more neighborhoods within a city level than you would within a zip code. So within this zip code, we have 34 neighborhoods. If I take the zip code off and run it for the entire city of Carlsbad, we're going to get, we'll go ahead and run our search. And we've gone from 34 neighborhoods to 447 neighborhoods. So you just really have more to choose from, right? But I'm going to go ahead and go back to the 37. For me, it's much more manageable, right? But you're going to see our targeted area over here. And then you're going to come in and you're going to see the name of the subdivision. You're going to see the median estimated home value. You're going to see property value growth year over year, current inventory, and how many homes are in the neighborhood. So you get a good idea of what's going on in the market area. And you can click right on the name of a community. And if I'm looking to target potential buyers, right, I could come in, and when I click on this housing tab, I'm going to get a lot of really good, juicy research. I'm going to come in and see the city or the neighborhood to the city, to the county, to the state, to the country. And I have 25% of the neighborhood here that rent their property, right? Which is a little bit smaller than the city of Carlsbad, but I get list price versus list volume. And I get that rent versus own. So if I'm kind of coming in and saying, hey, I really want to make sure I'm targeting neighborhoods that have a high owner capacity, if I'm looking to target potential sellers, or maybe you're looking for neighborhoods that have a high renter capacity, if you're looking to target neighborhoods that have potential buyer growth. So you can kind of come in, you can check out these different neighborhoods if you want to. You can check out that housing tab, and under that housing tab, you're going to see that percentage of rent versus own in the neighborhood. You can also take a look at the people. This is going to give you that housing breakdown if you want to have that housing breakdown. You're going to get the economy, which is unemployment, income per capita, and then you get that quality of life, rain, sun, snow, commute time. But this is population density, growth, male to female ratio. So if you wanted to come in and say, well, hey, in this area, are you going to get a high percentage of people selling their home after they've owned their home for 5 years? Or is it, are you looking at communities where the median age is a little bit higher? If they're in their 50s or 60s, maybe you want to target those who've owned their home for 10 or 15 years. So think about the statistics, look at things like the median age, look at things like the percentage of rent versus own if you're picking and choosing potential areas that you want to target for a farm area. So this gives you some good insight into that demographic data when you're targeting a potential area. And again, we just went into our research and we went into a neighborhood search, and that allowed us to target a particular zip code where we can look at the breakdown of housing developments within that zip code. And then again, you get that summary right here on the home page. But you could come in, and if you wanted to identify a particular area, you could always click on the name and get those in-depth demographics for that area. If you wanted to identify the median age of the people that live there to target that listing inventory, or if you wanted to take a look at the housing and identify the amount of that rent versus own potential. So that was another one that we had under these fields. So those are a couple of things that I like to take a look at when I'm just doing that research. And I'm like, well, what's a good neighborhood? What's the best way to target that neighborhood? I look at the housing tab and I look at the people tab. Like this community's 81% home ownership. So this is a great area where you have that potential for listings because it's such a high percentage of people that own in that neighborhood. So that's going to wrap things up for me. If you guys have a question, I suggest that you get it into that chat now. Otherwise, if you're wondering what you can do next, focus on your business needs, locate the area on the map, go ahead and save it. And generate some mailing labels or try running a market area activity report for that area. You guys can log into RPR generally through our site by visiting narrpr.com. If you have more questions, feel free to visit our blog for additional training resources that are available. And if you get stuck, feel free to reach out to our support desk. They're available through a chat as well as by phone. And you can also send us an email as well. You can access our training area right from the home page. You have a help option at the top where you can search our online learning center. You have links to our chat as well as our phone number. And then you can click right into our training area where you can visit our blog. You have printable guides that you can look at if you want a step-by-step walkthrough on how to create mailing labels. You can print out a little 2-page document that's going to walk you through step-by-step. You can also watch brief tutorials as well if that's what you're looking for. So those resources are there for you, and they are in RPR. Remember, RPR is a member benefit of the National Association of Realtors, so you do not pay any additional fees to access this platform or utilize any of the tools that I shared with you today. So I don't have any questions, and that will wrap up my presentation. So I hope you guys have a great rest of the day. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye, Katie. Thank you so much. And thanks
Oh,
everyone for joining.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.